Dr. Lakshmi Ramaswamy is a Kalaimamini, a top grade artist of Doordarshan, a senior fellow at the Ministry of Culture, India, and India's first US Fulbright Fellow in Bharatanatyam in Arts and Culture Management 2000. Beginning her training at the age of 5 in Tirunelveli, Lakshmi pursued her learning from Srimati Indra Krishnamurthy. After her wedding, she came to Chennai and came under the guidance of Padma Shri Chitra Vishweshwaran at the Chidambaram Academy for Bharatanatyam. Lakshmi is also trained in Karnas under Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Abhinaya from Padma Bhushan Kalanidhi Narayan, and Tamil texts from Dr. S. Raghuraman. She is the first doctorate from Madras University in Bharatanatyam and has also a master's degree in commerce. An empaneled artist of ICCR, she has to her credit numerous solos and group performances in national and international festivals and in prestigious sabhas. As a performer, she has traveled widely, that includes countries like USA, UK, Canada, France, Arab countries, Australia, and Sri Lanka. Simultaneously pursuing her academic interests, Lakshmi has presented papers in national and international seminars and conferences that include paper presentation for Semmari Manadu, International Conference for Classical Tamil, Dialogue Through Dance for Urbaniana University Room, and Methodology for Institutional Teaching in Dance, Madras University. She has also done lecture demonstrations in Savas of Chennai and in the Golden Gate University, San Francisco. As an author, she has translated the book History of Tamil Dance by Dr. S. Raghuraman and has co authored the book Natana Kalaichol Kalanjiyam. She has now published her book Shall We Know Natya. She is the founder director of her institute, Sri Mudralaya. Welcome to Samvadanam. It is a complete honor for us to have Dr. Lakshmi Ramaswamy with us today, an erudite scholar, a wonderful dancer, and a very, very thankful and a very sweet teacher. I think it's very rare to get these kind of combinations in one person. And, when you have somebody like that, they're always not only a resource to turn to, but also a sort of a huge support. And always a learning experience, because what happens is as we talk to people and as we learn from them, we enrich what we do not know and we enrich our knowledge as well. But more importantly, we bring their knowledge in perspective as well, because knowledge is for sharing, and the more you share, the more crystallized it becomes. I cannot thank you enough, Lakshmika, to have joined us today. It's such an honor. I know you're a very busy person. You have so many things going on. Of course, you're but this is just unbelievable that you joined us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mridula. It is so happy to be part of the Samvadanam. And that one statement that you made is very, very interesting. Every time you think you know something, and then when you again learn, then you again know that you have not known much. Every time I have seen this, because when I started doing the Madras University's master's course, my notes was something like 13 to 15 pages out of the classes. But today the notes I give my students is 300 pages.
Oh my God.
And my husband makes fun of me. He'll say, every student is going to curse you.
No, I mean, that's the amount of knowledge you have collected. So believe me, I think we are very thankful. Very thankful that you're willing to share it as well. There are not many people who might want to share what they have. So I think that itself is huge.
I'm very happy to do this, and a very, very favorite topic of mine that you've asked for also. So that is any time. And if at all, you like what you're doing, you will find time also.
Correct. Which is so true to say that. Very true. And yes, talking about the topic, I'm very excited to hear what you have to say, because you've done a ton of work on this and many other topics, not just this. But this is something that I think is phenomenally interesting to dancers per se. Our very mode is based on how we perform this, and it'll be amazing to hear. And I'm going to talk less from now on, because I really want to hear you. So please go ahead and tell us about, I know Rasa theory is an ocean, and you told me that there is just so much to learn. But perhaps a small intro, a brief, walk through it, and a piece of the Rasa theory from your eyes. I think that will make a huge difference.
Yes. I think it is everybody's favorite, this topic. And mine incidentally also became a PhD topic. So I was just looking at the Natya Shastra, and I had this beautiful, what do you call it? It's a beautiful God's blessing that I got introduction to Raghuram sir, who introduced me to Tolkappiyam, Silappatikaram, and also gave this Kuttanul one day and said, just read this text, probably you will like it. That's what he said. And, I was just looking at all these texts, and this one question of Vyabhichari Bhava, and then Tolkappiyam says, Tunai Maipadu. The same idea is called as Idaigal in Kuttanul. When you look at the numbers, they are of similar period. I mean, we don't have enough proof to say what is the time period, even though we have rough dates.
Right.
So a sort of similar 200, 300 years, and one is 33, one is 32, and the next is 48. Then how is it this change in numbers, or why or what makes it different, was this very small question into my mind, which made me completely, jump into this ocean. And I think every time I find something, sometimes it is pearl, sometimes it is coral. Because my students have also made me think, sometimes the questions that come up from the students, or even somebody who is in conversation, then you also have to rethink what you said earlier. And in that way, I have also had this nice opportunity while making lectures and interacting with eager minds. Whether it's a student or a teacher, the eager mind is what is very important. And
Absolutely.
incidentally, that is one of the most important, the activity of the mind for the Rasa theory. So,
and when you say coral or whatever it is, it's a rare gem that you seem to unearth.
it is. It is. And it's also overwhelming to see how much our culture has brought these gems like way back to 1,000 years. We are now in this 2022 revisiting the Tolkappiyam or the Kuttanul or the Natya Shastra. Sometimes I'm also asked in the research panels, why do you want to go back to Natya Shastra? Haven't people changed? Haven't things around us changed? Yes, it is changed. But still we have the head here and the leg there. So there are certain things which are definitely changed. There are certain very, very important, what do you call, the strands of human existence, which are still intact. And so far those strands are like intact, Rasa theory holds good. Otherwise, we have to again revisit the Rasa theory and again probably rewrite if everything changes. So until then, yes, we can take all the clues required for us from these really, really ancient texts.
And so beautifully thought out and, written as well, right? I mean, the fact that you're able to and connect with it.
Yes, and every time, I mean, they are also open-minded, like say it Bharata or Tolkappiyar. They say that I have written things which are like very, very appropriate to my time. Those teachers and those practitioners through the time, if they find anything even more significant, are most welcome to add it. How much of a generosity and how much of an acceptance that they have, and how much of the understanding of the art. See, the way we present the art has changed quite a lot. Today, now we have completely launched into thanks to Corona, we have launched into this digital version of many things.
Correct.
A normal meeting or whatever. So even in those things, introduction to the Rasa theory. So we have had a lot of texts which talk about Rasa theory. I'm just going to quote 3 of them, even though there are many who have even recorded the developments through the time, because we need a top and we need where we are now. So I've taken the one of the foremost, and I also like to compare the Tamil text with the Sanskrit text, because while the whole world knows very well about the Natya Shastra, and quite a lot of debates and arguments and commentaries have come now and then, comparatively it is lesser when it comes to Tolkappiyam or Kuttanul. Now Tolkappiyam, first of all, is not at all a text for Natya. It is a text only for the Tamil language, but even then there are quite a lot of interesting things that can be taken out from the Meipattiyal of Tolkappiyam. So even in my book, Shall We Know Natya, There are topics like, Abhinaya, the name Bharatanatyam or the Vrittis. Everywhere I have tried to, see how the Sanskrit tradition looks at it and how the Tamil texts look at it.
Beautiful.
And it's very interesting to see. Everything is overwhelming. Be it the Natya Shastra or the Tolkappiyam, it is really overwhelming. And sometimes you're like, struck to say, how much did they think? And and that quite a lot of times we use the word seer. They have seen past their time, like really forward. And their ideas are like very beautiful and still relevant. So just these three texts, because we are just taking an introduction to the Rasa theory. The first is Natya Shastra, second I have put Tolkappiyam, then is K.N.S. Kuttanul. Author of Natya Shastra is Bharata, Tolkappiyam is Tolkappiyar, and Kuttanul is Kuttanur Satanar. If you look at the language, Natya Shastra is in Sanskrit, Tolkappiyam and Kuttanul are in Tamil. What is the text made of? How is it written? Is it prose or poetry? Now, this is another variety. It's not just prose or poetry, but it is called a sutra. Where, sutra form means like, it will be so precise. And if you just open up one sutra, you can write pages and pages of commentaries to it. Like how we have the formula or something like that, it just expands.
They keep expanding.
So the sutra is one, yes. So for most of the grammar text, the sutra idea has been taken. So all the three texts come under this format. And the estimated time, besides all the controversies that we know and understand, and even the reasons, quite a lot of time I wonder, somebody does a very, very small contribution, they say sponsored by or etc. Why everything they write everywhere and every brighter than even the sponsored thing. But our people have not even, bothered to say, I have done this and this is the time. And many a time we have also believed in the Guru Sishya tradition. And so we have not really taken care to, write the date of when it was written and how. So we have quite a lot of controversies about the date. I'm just prompting the estimated date. So for the Natya Shastra, we accept 5th century BCE to 2 CE. Tolkappiyam is 3 BCE to 1 CE. And Kuttanul is 1st BCE is what I understand because of my research. Now, what is the subject matter which is dealt? Natya Shastra is for Natya, that is theatre. Tolkappiyam is written for language. Kuttanul is also theatre, but the correct word or the appropriate or the parallel word to Natya is Kuttu in Tamil. The Kuttu, what we talk about today in our language is very different. Yes, very different from what we understand. But Kuttu is a proper theatre where everything is put together. So it is very much parallel. So this was one of my first things which I had to do when I was working on my Kuttanul, to say Natya is equal to Kuttu. So the subject matter is theatre, language, and Kuttu, of course. And how is the text divided? The text is divided into 36 chapters. Tolkappiyam has 3 major sections. And then Kuttanul is divided into 9 nools. Nools, I'm finding it funny to say nools because Tamil noolgal.
Yes.
That is a better way to say that. Yes. And where is this specifically the Rasa theory spoken of? Natya Shastra, the 6th chapter is called as the Rasa Adhyaya. And in Tolkappiyam, we find the clues of Rasa in the Meipatiyal, which is in the 3rd section. And then Kuttanul has one of the subtexts. Out of the 9, the first one is Chuvainul. Then this lecture is specific to Rasa. The parallel word in Tolkappiyam is Meipadu, and Kuttanul uses the word Chuvai. So this is the the outer layer of what we are going to look into in the next few minutes. So let's first raise a few questions. What is Rasa? Is Rasa an active factor or a reactive factor? What are the ingredients that contribute to Rasa? And does a visual create the same Rasa to every onlooker? And is it possible to create a particular Rasa that I want, or the performer wants, or the script writer wants? Is it possible? And can a Rasa be manipulated? and arrive at one another rasa. And why do we even need a rasa? Is rasa real or unreal? So hope by the end of this half an hour or 45 minutes, we are able to arrive at the answers for these questions. And the mind is the most important factor as far as rasa theory is concerned. You know, when I was talking to one of the stalwarts who's a very beautiful philosopher, and he was telling me, you need the help of your mind to win over your mind.
Oh. I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Isn't it? And when he said it was like, yes, but how will the mind itself to win over itself? It's such a complex thing. And for the rasa theory also, we need this mind's activity. Even though we react or act with our senses, which is like predominant in our life system, it is the mind which plays a bigger role in the rasa theory. Now, just say, for example, you actually see a cherry sliding down from the ice cream. What do you feel when it actually happens in front of your eyes? And then you see a small child, and you are able to touch the cheek of the child. And how does it feel when you actually do that? It has chubby cheeks and cute smile. And how does it feel? And when you have a fresh flower in your hand and you try to smell, now, how do you feel about it? Now, all these actually are your senses, the touch sense, the smell sense, the looking, all that are our senses. But beyond this, it is the mind activity. Even though the senses give you a clue of how it happens, it is the mind activity which is actually more, because even if you see the visual, okay, so we'll go on to the others. So there is a sort of a joy, there is when you see that ice cream, or there is sort of a joy when you touch the cheek of the child. And what if it is not true? Say, for example, you're only seeing a visual. You have the advertisements, right? Say, for example, the ice cream advertisement, or a child for a baby powder, or something like that. You still have, even though you are not actually touching the child, even though you're not actually seeing the ice cream in front of your eyes, still what happens is that the mind reminds you of that.
Correct.
So that is how, even though it is not touch, even though it is not smell, even though it is not heard or seen, whatever it is, you still get a part, or nearly sometimes even 90% of the same joy if you had really touched or really smelled or really heard. There is a pleasure. It is not a real experience, but it is sort of, that is what you call it as an aesthetic experience.
Right.
This aesthetic experience is exactly what is the clue for the whole of the rasa theory. And this is all because of the mind activity. You know, we have a sort of storage kept here, this much, right from the minute of our birth until this moment. When we are interacting with somebody, there is so many kept here. So the mind immediately from the visual goes back to that experience, comes back to you, and then you react. All that happens in a flash. Maybe this pleasure is not exactly the same, but it's very, very similar. And sometimes even as much. Why do you even cry watching a movie?
Absolutely.
Right? You know that the actor has been paid for that.
But you still are so connected.
Yeah, you even have had your popcorn in the hand, you even bought tickets outside, and then you go inside and cry. Why? And this is what the mind actually does. And to say one thing even more is that it is a pleasure, but it is not real. And that is why we call it as an aesthetic experience and not a real experience. What other than the mind is next to understand the rasa theory? This is the concept of sahridaya. Sahridaya is very, very important. You know, like I said, you cry in a movie, you When the hero punches the villain, you are so happy, and then you clap as though you have defeated the villain or something like that. And if you had already done that, then you are a Sahridaya. You are not judgmental of what is you see in front of your eyes, but you want to actually participate, and you're also thinking in the same lines as what is presented in front of your eyes. This is the Sahridaya, and the Sahridaya is one who allows his ego down. If you keep your ego up and you're not ready to participate and you're away from the visual,
you don't feel that.
Then the rasa doesn't happen. You have to be mentally or from your mind be ready to participate in the visual. And, so only when that happens, this child or this ice cream or this flower makes any sense. And the chances of a Sahridaya deriving a relish out of what is seen as a theater or a cinema, whatever it is more and nice and bigger in terms of percentage or something than the rest of the audience who are, don't want to participate and have their egos high up. It cannot happen. So the concept of Sahridaya is so important. So mind and then the Sahridaya. Then what happens? We come to the next slide where we talk about Sadharanikarana. This is a very, very interesting topic. And, say for example, I take an example of a romance. Even today when we watch movies are like more of romance or action.
Right.
Tamil tradition, if you want technically the word for the romance and action, it is Aham and Puram. Aham is that which talks about the love life of the couple.
Right.
And Puram is that which talks about the society. And from the 2000 years till today, if you look at the genre of what movies we see, it's still mostly the romance or otherwise it is action. I mean, we don't have this rom-com and we don't have all these sometimes thriller, or we don't even have something like, the scary part of the
horror.
Horror we don't. Our tradition doesn't have. But of course, it is there. Now we see a lot of these crossbreeds that come out. But even then, if you take a percentile, you'll still have romantic movies or action movies, which is like the Aham and Puram of life, which we have seen right from that Sangam age poems. Can one sorrow or can one's pain be another's? Can a happiness of one person be another's person happiness? The next door person buys a car. You might be happy if you are a Sahridaya, or you might also be
oh my God.
jealous in that way. So it's like overall, the Sadharanikarana is something where it is like being a sort of everybody's bringing into the participation. In dance, say for example, I want to depict an elephant, right? I cannot have a long trunk or a big ears all of a sudden to bring the audience to understand an elephant, but I can suddenly, do something like this ears, or I can do something like this trunk where I have objectified my visual. So when I objectify, there are three people in front of me. All the three now, if they are ready, if their mind is active, if they are a Sahridaya, and if they are understanding the idiom of Sadharanikarana, then they see the elephant and not me.
Lovely.
Then now they see what the elephant is going to do. So the victory of a people, other people, so you have to be as a Sahridaya. So if the visual is about, somebody is winning over. Now we just spoke about the hero winning. We always want the hero to win. So you feel so delighted because it is objectified. The hero in us has, come out. And you almost feel that you have done that particular action of, punching this villain or something like that. So in dance, I said elephant. Say, for example, an actor walks in blue colored on his body. He has a flute in the hand. Now we have not even said who it is. But many of the people in the audience who are little aware of how this idiom works, they will definitely identify the person as a Krishna.
Correct. Absolutely.
The flute and the blue color. Maybe the pitambara, yellow garment. Maybe the garland. Maybe there is the peacock feather on top. So everything put together. Now from that moment, after identifying the person as Krishna, they will now start seeing the Krishna in that person.
Mm.
Then what happens? They forget the person as such and they see the Krishna more. They forget the person, they see the elephant. They forget the person, they see the horse, whatever it is.
Correct.
So the outer layer of the personality is sort of withdrawn. And from the inner characterization, what the actor or the visual is trying to suggest, that becomes important.
Mm.
And this process is called as sadharanikarana, where it is an objectification. We very well know the person is not Krishna.
Right.
It's not a Rama, it is not a Sita. But we have known a Krishna or a Rama by our hearsay, stories right from our younger days, or one or two theater productions, or a cinema, or something like that. So we start identifying the character more than the person. So the Krishna is seen more and the Rama is seen more, or the elephant, or the villain, or the hero. So this objectification is called a sadharanikarana, which also has a very important role in the rasa to happen. What if we don't have this objectification? Then probably you were not a Sakhridaya, your ego was so high, you are not ready to accept. I mean, we sometimes also make fun, right?
Yeah.
That person tried to do a Krishna and finally I never saw a Krishna there. We also do that because we have a mental image of Krishna, and unless the presentation in front of our eyes exactly justifies, so that role goes to the director or the actor. But otherwise, from the audience's side, you should have that Sahridaya and idea of the Sadharanikarana where you can understand and start seeing. So along with the audience, then you will also laugh. Along with the audience, you'll also cry. You just have no hesitation about it. So these are the factors which are at the outset. Now, what is relish and what is the mind? See or touch, we get something of true and real happiness.
Right.
And sometimes it is not real. It is the mind which says, yes, this is how it would be. In the rasa process, the mind, I told you, the mind is so important. And the merger between, at some point of time, you actually, from your virtual space of sitting in the chair, you start getting into the movie screen or the Natya production, and you see your characters around.
Right.
And that is where you participate. And for this, you definitely need the mind's activity. And there is a bliss when you relieve yourself out of your seat. If you are too stuck, you will not get the enjoyment. You cannot derive the enjoyment. So there is this relish versus mind. And when you actually identify every bit of it, you are ready to forget and you clap or laugh or cry or everything. And it is actually a relish. And our text, especially the Natyashastra and the later commentators, not only talk about the rasa and rasanubhava, they also philosophically move further and call it as Brahmananda. Paramananda, Brahmananda, that state where your ego is completely gone down. And ego going down is a big philosophy, right?
Absolutely.
So that happens when this visual is so active. The performer, the director has done it so well. The actor has completely justified the character. The onlooker, I'm talking about the best of the combination.
Correct.
And the onlooker has no ego. And he is also able to identify the dance language or the theater language. Then it is this relish which is like so much. And that is why they call it as Brahmananda. And you just merge into the visual completely. If not, if your physical being with your mental being, you completely have a beautiful merger. And even people like Sigmund Freud have talked about this psychoanalysis. and how the mind manipulates, and how a person has a personality, and in the utmost unconscious mind, what all happens, because we are all a sort of bank or a reservoir of thoughts.
Absolutely.
And the awareness from inside to out, or from outside to in, the mind becomes a very, very important thing. And once all this happens in line, ideally, then this rasa actually happens. It's a blissful thing when it happens, even after crying, you're so happy.
Right.
Why do you think many of the TV serials, which is like crying, sell more?
Absolutely.
There is this unrelished, or something which we have not
Yeah.
which we have not taken it much. We have pushed it to the deeper layers of our belief. As a child, we have all laughed and cried whenever we wanted.
Absolutely.
At that point of time, nobody said don't cry or don't laugh. But later, when you see the world and understand everything, you are said not to cry, not to laugh like this. And so what happens? You are not completely enjoyed that bit of crying or laughing. And whatever is that residue is inside you. All that pain, all that laughter, all that irritation, whatever it is, all that is pushed into your, deep inside. And because there is this objectification, everybody is laughing, everybody is crying. Now you don't hesitate to cry.
Right.
You don't hesitate to laugh. And with everybody, you're also ready to sit and enjoy the visual. And sometimes, you feel so relieved, like you're actually purged out your inner, unfelt, whatever you have kept inside, not completely done. It completely comes out. And you feel lighter and happy even after that cry, which is like not even connected with you.
And you're so correct, because we bottle up so many emotions, because we are taught to be cautious. As you grow older, as you come into society, everything is more cautious. It is not unfettered. And you're
Yes.
spot on in saying how we relate to serials. How many women relate to different characters in different serials?
Yes.
Could be a housewife and they relate to the issues of the housewife. It could be something where this woman is a police woman or very brave. It's completely spot on, right? They're able to relate, and
all that is fine. But sad part is sometimes they have all these villain characters as women, and sometimes it's feeling so difficult to see that. So there are two names which we have to reckon with. We just say I feel like this, and it is my I felt emotional. We use the words feeling and emotion, but it has much more deeper variation. What is feeling and what is emotion? And emotion is necessary a feeling, but a feeling need not be an emotion.
Oh.
Say, for example, it feels cold. I'm hungry. I'm feeling hungry. This is not an emotion. So emotion can be a feeling, but feeling can never be an emotion, need not be an emotion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And emotions lie deeper in a person's personality. Feelings are more outward, like how I say hungry, or, after you eat, your hunger is not going to be there. After you switch on the fan, you're not going to feel hot. So it is a sort of more outward. Feelings are outward, whereas emotions lie very, very deep inside a person's personality. To such an extent, sometimes it's even unconscious. Emotion can even be unconscious, but feeling can happen only when you're conscious. And emotions are mostly, mental. Feelings are more about our senses. And so they are more of physical nature when we have it. But, when we talk, we say, I felt like this, I went on emotional. But when we actually when we look at the rasa theory and also look at these things, we see quite a contrasting and how different, or how in which layer they are actually put.
Right.
Yes. So how is rasa connected with theater or dance? Very easily or very nicely in Natyashastra 6th chapter, Bharata says, gives some 11 ingredients of how rasa can come together. We have the famous Sangraha Sloka, and which talks about 11 things like rasa, bhava, vinaya, vritti, pravritti, siddhi, swara, atotya, ganam, ranga. All that has to come together. So first of all, it starts with rasa. If you don't know what you want to do with your actors and theatre and script, then there is going to be nothing. You start with rasa. You add everything. You add bhava, you add abhinaya, you add vritti, you add pravritti, the costumes, aharya, everything. And then you add music. And you set to a space where you present everything. Ghanam, ranga. And then again it comes out back as rasa. So starting with rasa, and what you also give at the end is rasa. Right. There has to be a basic emotion, feeling, and there is a method of acting. Sometimes it is regional, sometimes it is you call it as oriental, you call it as thought process of people in various ways. So it is out of, even when you talk about the nritta and nritya and natya, I would say nritta or nritya do not or almost need not connect with rasa. But the natya factor connects with rasa, where you have a character, where you have a story, where you have a scene set up. I mean, it needn't be the full of Mahabharata or the Ramayana or any other story for that manner. It can just be one, a Gajendra Moksha.
Correct.
At that point, if you are helpless at any point of time in your life, at that point of time, that will be reminded out of this Gajendra. Even in exam hall, you write with a pen, and suddenly your pen is not writing. The friend next to you just notices you like this, and then gives a pen like this, and she continues to write. That one pen is the most valuable thing for the client.
Right. Absolutely.
And you remember this for a very long time. Whenever you see the friend, you remember the pen and the exam.
Pen and exam.
Whenever you see the pen, you remember your friend. It gets into your mental thing, so that sometimes it becomes the setup. And so each of the texts talk about, the Natya Shastra tells about this rasa layer. And then everybody talks about the discerning audience, that is a Sahridaya. I mean, if you don't have the Sahridaya and people are not ready, and it doesn't rise up to the rasa level. So it is everybody's responsibility, from the script writer to the actor to the stage setup. I saw one production where supposedly the person had to become an Narasimha, and they had this tooth setup and all that. And when the person tried to do the Narasimha, the tooth fell down. Oh. And from Raudra, everything went topsy-turvy and it went to Hasya. It's after all a very, very small thing. Not that the people who presented would have done rehearsals or something. They would have definitely done every bit of it. But that one moment, it can just change anything into anything. And so the setup, from the actor, from the script, even that auditorium, that AC, that sound system, everything has to be in the idealistic whole, that level. Then the rasa process or the rasa happening, the percentile is more. So if you go to more academic terms, we have the abhinaya, we have the bhava. The bhava set up into various sections as bhava, vibhava, anubhava, vyabhichari bhava, and all that. So when we look at the text again, in the Natya Shastra, it's called as rasa, and there are 9 in number. In Tolkappiyam, it is called as Meipadu. Natya Shastra is 8. Meipadu is also 8. And Kuttanul talks about 9. And what is the inner emotion? That is what we call as bhava. So sthai is what Bharata says. Kurippu or Chattuvam is what Tolkappiyam says. And aham is what Kuttanul says. And what about these fleeting emotions? Vyabhichari bhava, and there are 33, which Bharata mentions. Tolkappiyam gives the name Meipadu to the abhinaya or the rasa, and then Tunai Meipadu is the name. So 32 in number. 33 Vyabicharis, 32 Thunai Maipadu, and Kuttanul gives the name Idai. And it is 48 in number.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that was my first curiosity to even work on Kuttanul. Why?
Why?
How come? How come? But if you look at the psychology and the recent update on various, man has become even more complex. We are no more simple beings.
Yes.
And now they are able to bring out up to 72 names of these Vyabichari Bhavas.
Wow.
Changes, so many changes, So something which was so simple 50 years before is no more that simple. Everything with the type of formality you see around us, or sometimes some people are not able to mind sync, even though it is your own. In many houses where there are twins, they'll be very, very different from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Twins they are. So only in fractions of second they would have been born, but there'll be two different personalities.
Absolutely.
So with that, how do you even come to a common grounding and then think about the rasa and make everybody enjoy? It's really challenging, but it's also very interesting. When I did my production Alavadi Eppidiyo, there is this particular scene where we depict the story of Sirutondar. Sirutondar is one who sacrifices his own son for a meal for Shiva. And then, that the husband and wife decide upon their child, they bring their child, and then the slicing happens. And I had people in the audience crying. In fact, we even have a debate when we created the choreography, whether to have a real child or not have a real child. I did not even have a real child because then the mental image goes gross. I don't want people to see the bloodshed and other things. I only wanted to see the commitment of what Sirutondar wanted to give there. So it was just this. And then as he does this, he will turn and then say, I have done this. Even that fraction of a second, people were having tears. What I showed was not real, but the tears were real. So this is the most interesting part of the Rasa theory, where somebody gets a goosebump.
Correct.
Where somebody cries, or even in a romantic scene, you blush when the heroine has something, right? So out of the unreal, we are trying to even touch the inner self or the sattva of the person. We have the sattvika bhavas, where we call it as involuntary actions. It is just comes in a flash. Unless the mind is touched, it cannot happen. Right? So
Absolutely.
what happens after the names of rasas? Shringara is the first one in Natya Shastra. We have Shringara, Hasya, Karuna, Raudra, and then Veera, and then Bhaya or Bhayanaka, and then Bibhatsa, Adbhuta. If you look at the names in Tolkapyam, we have Uvagai, and then Nagai. Uvagai is pleasure or happiness. Nagai is the smile or laughter. For Karuna, the equivalent is Alugai. So you see happy and sad as rasas. Uvagai, Alugai. And then we have Veguli, and then Perumidam, Acham, Ilivaral, Marutkai. If I have to give a translation, Veguli is when you get angry. Perumidam is like proud. And then Ilivaral is disgust. And then Marutkai is Adbhuta.
So when you take it as Veera also, is it?
Which one?
When you take it as proud, can you take it as Veera also?
Yes, that is what I was going to say. Perumidam is the parallel to Veera, but we have four reasons for how one can have Perumidam. If you are physically fit and you are ready to dare, that is where we call it as Veera. But Perumidam can also come for various other reasons. Sometimes even out of generosity, you give somebody, something, and you feel very proud and contented. Proud is not the exact word, but you feel that I did this at that point of time. So even with Shringara, even though Shringara is the main rasa, given as a rasa, it comes as one of the reasons for pleasure. And the other names, when Kutanul is concerned, it gives the name of Kamam, which is exactly Sringara.
Right.
Hasya as Nagai, Karuna as Irakkam, Raudra as Viral, Veera as Tiral, and Bhayanaka Acham, Vibhatsa is Veruppu, and Adbhuta is a Viyappu, and it has one last, final, or even the beginning, if I have to say, Naduvu Nilai. Equipoised, Naduvu Nilai. And which can be considered as, equivalent to Shanta.
Shanta, correct.
Shanta, because in Shanta also we say that, the person is not moved by anything. He's like completely, stable, clear, peaceful, all that. So this is named as Naduvu Nilai as far as Kutanul is concerned. So we have seen the names of the rasas. I'll move to my next slide where the connection or the rasa process, the most important thing is bhava turns into rasa. And that is why we have the sthayi bhava and then various vabicharis acting on it and giving us the particular rasa.
Right.
So bhava has to be present in a person. We generally take that it is for normal people. So if a person is normal, he has definitely the 8 emotions or what we call as thai given to him by birth. So if you have the rati, you get Shringara. You can understand Shringara or you get Shringara. If you have the bhayanaka, you understand what is bhaya.
Right.
So what is bhava inside a person? We have 2 now. We have the actor who has the rati. We also have the audience who have the rati. If the actor brings out his acting skills in the given setting, all idealistic thing, you understand from him, his bhava, the rasa is given. And as an onlooker, you take the rasa and you feel the bhava from inside. So bhava to rasa, and then the communication happens, rasa to bhava and audience, then the cycle is complete. And this can happen in a very, very ideal situation. And to me, I will say it needn't be ideal every time. In a 1.5 hour performance when somebody presents, even if it happens for 2-3 times through the program, somebody has a goosebump all of a sudden.
I know.
Somebody has a tears all of a sudden. You have actually touched the sattva of the person. Then the day is done. The whole presentation, even it is for 2-3 seconds, then the whole day is done is what I will say. And that is what we also look forward to. This has to happen on the onlooker. See, he's not, as we already told right in the beginning, it is not real.
Absolutely.
It's not real. But the rasa still happens. The tears and the goosebumps are real. Right? From something which is not real, you're bringing real. That is one of the important aspects of the rasa. And but technically we have a lot of names given. We talked about the bhavas. We have the sthayi bhava. It has to be present by nature.
Right.
A lot of dancers would know. So maybe young dancer likes to know the names.
Absolutely.
The sthayi even by inner nature. So it comes by nature. Vibhava is the ambience in which it is set. If I am talking in my house, I'm different. If I am in a university hall, I'm different. If I'm in a performance hall, the way I present myself might be different. So the ambience, according to ambience, also quite a lot changes. And then how we respond to certain things, that is anubhava. Then we have the satvika bhava, which is so important, which lies in the deeper layers of the mind.
Right.
And how the sthayi turns into rasa. If you have the ratiness with you, you can get Shringara. If you have the hasa, you will get hasya. If you have a sense of shoka, then you have karuna. So the sthayi bhava is what turns into rasa. Each one of them have one corresponding rasa. So rati to Sringara, hasa to hasya, shoka to karuna, krodha to raudra, utsaha to veera, jugupsa to bibhatsa, and vismaya to adbhuta. So how are the stages of rasa aligned? if we want to talk about that. The stages of rasa. The poem or the script or even the storyline, it should have a lot of ingredients inside it. We call the poem as impregnated poem.
Right.
Not like, she came and then she went. There should be a little more. She came in like a breeze and went like one storm. Then there is more character.
Right.
She came, she went doesn't have. So the poem itself should be impregnated with quite a lot of things inside. And this crux, technically we call it as a sthai, has to be internalized by the actor. Then he delivers it as abhinaya. Then when the delivering has happened, whom it reaches is a sahridaya. And he has to perceive it out of what is said. Say, for example, I do something like this. The audience should not just say it is a Kadakamukha and Alapadma.
Right. Absolutely.
They should be able to sense that this is an action of plucking a flower and collecting a flower.
Absolutely.
So it is now up to them. Now the actor has done everything. Now it goes through the abhinaya, it goes to the audience. Now they have to now sort of decode from the coded language. Then they start seeing the flower. Until then, it is only a Kadakamukha. If they don't decode, it is a Kadakamukha and Alapadma.
Correct.
Yes. But if they decode, now they start understanding that they even see the flower which is not there in their mind's eye. And if that perception by the ideal Sahridaya happens, then the relish has no, nothing stops the relish. And of the highest order of relish is what I told you already, the tears or the blushing or the horripilation which can come. That is the highest of order. So even in the normal order, if it is not the highest order, if we have, the clapping or the whistle or something, we call it as a siddhi, the reaction, how much they enjoyed.
Right.
The technical word is siddhi. If they clap and whistle and they express, then it is manushi siddhi. If they are dumbstruck with tears in their eyes, they're not even moving, then it is daiviki siddhi.
Wow.
If they have visited their inner self, we all say our inner self is Paramatma. You get a chance to do that. Visiting your own inner self. And that is why it is of, biggest of the, it's like, who am I? Question Madhuri. What is this rasa? And if this happens, you have really touched the ultimate by coding and decoding, by abhinaya and giving it to the performer. And the ideal Sahridaya sees it, decodes it, understands it. Not only understand is the minimal,
surface
idea.
level. Right.
Surface level. I understood what she did. That's it. But participating, experiencing, relishing are more degrees onto it. They actually go more degrees, finally visit their own inner self. And that is the best beauty of the rasa happening. So it's all about all these stages. It crosses these many stages to come into the hand or the perception of the audience. And if it happens, then that is the best day for a performer, I will say, or the director. Yeah. How can somebody get scared or how can somebody laugh if they are not ready to participate? But if they are able to decode, understand, and more than that, more than understanding, like I said, if they go up in the layers and visit their innermost being, then they are like stunned. That is the best of the rasa experience that somebody can do. Is the rasa same for everybody? It cannot. Direct answer is no. It cannot. No. Say, for example, very easy is, somebody watches an accident in front of their eyes. And it's not a very good example, but still for us to understand the idea, is everybody having the same reaction when this is happening? Somebody who's already very timid and, who gets jittery, they will have a buyer. Somebody who's like, ready, go, dare, He said, go find that man, catch him, catch hold of him, struck this person. Somebody sees the blood or something like that, they are like,
Yeah.
It's one happening, one fraction of a second, and 10 people seeing it. Everybody has a different reaction to it. So we can never say the rasa can be the same reaction. Sometimes even in movies when there's some comedy happening, I see my son jumping and laughing and I'm like, okay.
Oh God. No, because you're so right. It is very true because, for example, I see movies, I start crying. I'm so involved in whatever movies I see.
Yes,
The hero and heroine are talking. I am smiling as if I'm part of that conversation. It's very easy for people sitting around me because they don't get involved at the same level. They don't see why I'm crying. So my husband will say, he's just saying a dialogue. That's all it is. So he's already closed himself to, going past it.
My father will make fun. He will say, what type of movie are you going? Have you taken your kerchief today?
I landed a towel. It's that bad with me. So absolutely, it's just opening the mind to see what it is more than what is present.
Yes. So it's like, you can't make everybody feel the same or even the same degree.
Absolutely.
Having said that, in the stage performance, there is a possibility of creating similar responses from onlookers. Now, how is this possible? Now, we said sadharanikarana.
Correct.
We have to objectify in a particular way that everybody sees the elephant. We have to objectify in a particular way that everybody sees this Rama.
Right.
So that sadharanikarana is something, if you are able to, find this formula so that everybody can identify it, then your path is more clear. And you can create the type of response that we want. The only thing is, he should be ready and he should be a Sahridaya.
Right, absolutely.
The person is not ready to be a Sahridaya. Whatever you do,
you don't bridge
not really
that gap, And
yes,
they open up.
It's a little tough. And that is why we sometimes, we say, it's not about the real life. It is not about, every day enjoying the food or sleeping or earning. That is something we even have to educate our children to understand the aesthetic pleasure and beauty in life. That should be aesthetic classes, I think. In schools, students should have classes for aesthetics. Take up a flower and say how beautiful it is. If you see how beautiful the flower is, you will not have the mind to, do this to the flower. The smell, and I have heard that in Japan they used to have the tea ceremony. They even teach you how to enjoy your tea. Like that, we should have aesthetic classes. Say how beautiful this is. How do you appreciate this beauty? And then it will also give the mind not to turn into this, but just hold it like this and enjoy the beauty. So aesthetics is something which we never teach the children. And so many, there are various sections of the society who are not even exposed to this. Because you want your audience to come with a little of inclination.
Absolutely.
For movies, you don't ask that. I had my housemaid when I was very young. She will just abscond one day. And then my mother will ask, where were you yesterday? You didn't even inform me. Those were not the days of cell phones though. But she'll just abscond. And then Amma will say, probably she must have gone to a movie only. She will come next day and she said, yeah, I saw the movie, so I didn't come yesterday. Done. After another 5 days, 7 days, she'll again abscond. She will not come for work. And then my mother will say, why? Again. She'll say, I went to the movie. Which movie? Same movie. Why? Appa sariya puriyilla. So this is something which I remember very well because we do once in the right and once in the left. Some actions. Most of the people, when you do it the first time itself, they decode your action and they understand what you're trying to what you're speaking through your dance. But there might be a few who don't connect it with it immediately. So the second time is more helpful. So she says she enjoys the second time movie more than the first time movie. This is real story, but yeah, how we communicate is the duty of the performer, and that's why I practice over and over again. Sometimes I make my students, in fact, younger students, in front of me and say, "What did you understand by this?" If all of them are able to say what I really meant or what I really performed, then I'm sort of convinced, yeah, it's okay. But even if two or three are not clear of what I performed, then I go and revisit why they didn't understand. Let me redo it again. Can this angle be better? Or can I use a different hasta to even, tell this? So this is very important in the realms of rasa theory, that the communicator should be communicative enough. The communication should also transfer enough. The audience should also have a open mind, which is like, I'm ready to enjoy this bit. I'm just ready to forget. I may have to go back and cook after this particular thing, but still I'm giving my mind at this particular point of time. So all this is given, and we have more technicalities. I don't think I will go to all those technicalities today. We can do one another session there. How Tolkap is different from Natya Shastra in the way of the setup or the Kalan. It is called as Kalan. Kutru Ketpur Munnam is how the scene is set. Kutru is like what is told, the statement. Ketpur is not one who is hearing. It is to whom it is intended to.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Kutra is the statement. Ketpur is to whom it is intended. Munnam is in which setup.
The environment or the
environment. Vibhava in our technical terms. Now take this example. There is this. You have seen it in movies. This girl will walk out of the house, and then she will turn inside and say, "Amma, na kovilku pore. Mummy, I'm going to the temple."
I get it. Okay. Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, spot on.
She said Amma, but it is not told to the mother.
Correct. The intended audience is
someone who's around, maybe her friend or even her lover, who wants to know where she's going next. So the Ketpur is not the person who's hearing it, but to whom that statement is intended to.
Right.
There are such beautiful nuances in Tolkappiyam, how it is set up and how a visual can be brought into the mind. And what more? I think this is the basics which I would want to share as an introduction to Rasa theory. I have more to talk. I mean, we already started this whole conversation as it's an ocean. It's an ocean. And all the stalwarts who have written the text have also told that it's an ocean. And we are like sometimes, you get a log of wood and you hold on to it and try to float in this ocean and also find new things every time. So the mind, the sadharanikarana, the sahridaya, the abhinaya which goes between the actor and the spectator, how a particular scene can be having an impregnated poem, and it looks beautiful to the audience. And at the end of the day, after the presentation, somebody's having a tears or a horripilation, then it is really Brahmananda for that. Brahmananda moment on that particular day.
Absolutely. This is just so beautiful. I am already wondering when I can talk to you next. It's so amazing, just so many things. In fact, you mentioned something at the very, very beginning about Kutu. And it's not the negative connotation that it might have got over a period of time, perhaps. I remember once, this was intended as an insult to me, when somebody said, "You are after all a Kutadi." And now I wonder, my God, you can't have given me a better compliment, because you had no idea what you were mentioning when you spoke to me.
Yes.
Initial stages. And I remember talking to Sudha Auntie, and I said, "Auntie, this is what they said." And she said, "Oh, that is such a compliment." And she walked away. at that point, I was after all not even in college, and I was wondering, how is that a compliment? It comes as a negative connotation. But when the moment you said it, that's what came to my mind, because it's
True.
saying that is a beautiful compliment. And I should have said thanks
Yes.
at that point. I was shocked and a very young, immature child. But, and now I understand what my guru told me when she said, yes, it was a compliment. And she walked off. And, it's obviously she has faced that as well. And many people have. But it's so beautiful that when we revisit, as you correctly said, why do you even revisit? There is so much there to bring forth and learn. Are we in modern times? Is it even relatable? I think so. I think we go back and use so much of what they do, and so much of the thinking. You mentioned so many layers of all the bhavas. I mean, different types of bhavas. That itself is so much of psychology, right? We have labeled
Lot of psychology, because it's about the mind, right? If
exactly.
it is about the mind, then what else? It is psychology. And to make somebody laugh or cry, if it is not psychological, it doesn't work that way.
And imagine that
Just an opening up of the lip alone is just not laughter. It's not laughter,
exactly.
right? If I do, mm, it's it looks like fun. But making a person laugh or making a person cry, and that too out of unreal things. It's only a visual. It is. So even Abhinav Gupta says that it's a world by itself. Natya, it's a world by itself. There is nothing which cannot be seen in that world. Everything in this world can be seen in that world. He uses the word anukarana there and says it's just a reflection. Like how we have the Abhinaya Darpana or other things. Natya is a reflection of the whole world. And for that moment, it becomes a real world for people who give their mind. And it is not a real world for others who are not ready to give their mind.
Wow. Beautifully said. Beautifully. I cannot thank you enough. It has been amazing because, you show it in such a simplified manner that a lot of us who might not have the, I won't say time, but also the interest or the ability to go through these texts. It's amazing that Kutanul or anything else has these parallels, because when we are taught, we're usually exposed to Natya Shastra, predominantly Natya Shastra.
Yes.
And the rasa theory in Natya Shastra, but we never realize that there is so much more. In fact, I see so much of it even, say, when I read the Nalaya Divya Prabandham, on how Tirumangai Alvar can become the mother of the daughter, can become the daughter, can become a lay person who's talking. There's just so much of sudden transitions. I think they just go into the character, and sometimes
very much.
you go into the character. Oh my God, Andal pining for the Lord. As you say, it's different. They bring you into what they're doing. Poetry as well, any art for that matter.
Yeah, whatever I have gathered and spoke is all the grace of all those Bharata and Tolkapir, everybody, and also all my teachers. I've been with Padma Shri Srimati Chitra Visveshwar, my guru, and Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Kalanidhi Mami, and then Raghuraman sir, and also inspiration from so many senior dancers. So it is what I have done is just gathered things together. That's it. It's none of my contribution, I could say, but I enjoy doing this. Just gathering. There's so much still left not done together.
Absolutely, but you put it very simply, just gathering. But somebody had to do all that hard work and gather and also share. I think that is equally important, not just the gathering. But thank you so much, Akka. It's been such a lovely talk. I am really looking forward to talking more. And the next stage, as you said, how are these three completely differently set and how do they view things? I think those are some that we would love to learn as well. But right now, I know your time is precious and your knowledge is even more precious to us. So thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to visit something which I love. And that is why, I was like, I should do this. I should do this. So thank you so much. And I hope the people listening to this will also enjoy this beauty of this, the aesthetics of the culture and the tradition and the art. And let's make everybody relish this beauty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mridula.